Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rank the Movies. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. New Year's just around the corner. Literally, we're like 2 days away from the New Year's. But I got 3 more movies to talk about, and these might be movies worth watching on New Year's Eve. If you just want to watch movies, if you're not looking for New Year's-centric movies, these are some really good movies. Trading Places is a great New Year's movie. Some people call it a Christmas movie. I say why, because Dan Aykroyd wears a Santa costume at one point. It's a New Year's movie. The ending of the movie takes place on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I call that a New Year's movie. But that's me. But I'm not talking about Trading Places. I'm talking about A Million Ways to Die in the West, which has absolutely nothing to do with there's no connection there whatsoever. A Million Ways to Die in the West. This is the second film by Seth MacFarlane, the man who brings us Family Guy. This is the second film, and I think it's a superior film. The Ted films are fun, they're enjoyable, but this is actually a really good movie. Basically, it takes place in the Old West. We have a sheep farmer played by Seth MacFarlane, who's just living his day, except he's a little more neurotic of a character than you would one sees in a Western. One day he meets Charlize Theron, who is the wife of Liam Neeson, who is a bandit. She has been left in the town while he does a robbery, and then he's going to come back for her. They hit it off, and eventually Liam Neeson shows back up, and it's paint by numbers. It's a paint by numbers plot. This movie strives on its comedy. People always die at the fair. Great bit of dialogue. The mayor is dead and being eaten by wolves, and he is the highest ranking official in the town. Great scene. This one thrives off of the delivery of the dialogue and the dialogue itself. The scene where they deliver ice. It's a great scene. This movie isn't about a plot. This movie isn't about, being really interested, engaged, because you want to know what's going to happen next. This movie is about, I want to know what weird, funny thing they're going to say next. That's what's engaging you. That's what's making you interested. But it's a great movie. It is an R-rated film. It's Seth MacFarlane. You get what you pay for with Seth MacFarlane. I was debating, me and one of my friends went and saw this movie, debating between going to see this or going to see Neighbors. I'm kind of glad we went and saw this. This is actually the one I was pulling for, even though at the time I was highly against Seth MacFarlane and making movies, because Ted hadn't grown on me yet. Like I said, Ted's an enjoyable movie. But Ted hadn't grown on me yet, so I was like, I don't know. But when I saw the trailer for Neighbors, I'm like, let's go see A Million Ways to Die in the West instead. It looks funnier. Yeah. Alright, next up is the VHS tape for this week, as there have been at least one in every video I've done this month. Woot! It is Major League. This is a classic. I actually did go see this one in theaters recently, because before COVID it was ran as a classic on the big screen, and I went and saw it because it's Major League, and I got to see it on the big screen. Yeah, I'm all for that. You got Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Corbin Burnson. Also hiding out in this cast is Wesley Snipes. It's about a Major League Baseball team who have been doing shitty. The owner wants to sell it off, but can't unless the team actually does worse. So she forms a team that will do just that, worse. And they end up actually turning around and becoming a great team. Again, it's a movie based on its comedy. A lot of sports movies have this kind of mentality that they have to be better than they were in order to win. It's kind of what sports movies are built around. This one adds that comedy to it, and it actually does a very good job. It has interesting characters and interesting setups for what's going on. It's one that you are interested in from start to finish because you're genuinely invested in these people, which I think some sports movies just don't have. They don't make the investment in the characters, so we as the audience don't know how to make the investment in them either. But I think Major League does it well. I think it's kind of the template you need to follow. It is a fantastic film with great roles. It spawned 2 sequels. Major League 2, which brings back most of the original cast minus Wesley Snipes. It's not bad. It's fun in a double feature with Major League. And Major League 3 Back to the Minors, which is bad. It's a bad movie. But Major League is definitely one worth checking out. If you've never seen it, this one kind of falls in the same category of Wreck-It Ralph. I assume most people have seen Major League. And I am only preaching to the choir that this is a great, underrated film and not trying to convert people to the ways of Major League. I feel like I ain't trying to convert you, but it is. It's a great film. It's it's a mainstay of any good sports movie collection. So I got one more movie, and I saved this one for last because it involves snow, which doesn't make it a Christmas movie. It just means it has snow in it. It is Out Cold. This is a great comedy. I know I did Operation Endgame a few weeks ago starring Zach Galifianakis. Here's another Zach Galifianakis movie. Actually, I think this is his first theatrical film. You also have Jason London in this movie, and a plethora of other people you might recognize. It takes place at a ski resort, Bull Mountain. The owner of Bull Mountain and founder of the mountain has died. His son, who isn't as into skiing and the mountain as his father was, is looking to sell it off to a guy Lee Majors, who wants to turn it into a giant resort. And it's about the community, which has been fairly steadfast since its foundation of what is acceptable in this community, what isn't acceptable, and what you do, what you don't do. Being turned over as it's being turned into a resort, you kind of lose that. The town has to become part of the resort feel because, well, that's how it works. You're not just selling the building and the slopes, you're selling the whole experience because that's how you make money at a resort town. You have to become part of the aesthetic. And our characters are part of that aesthetic, and they're being slowly tried to phase out until they inevitably fight back. It's a fun movie. You get to see a lot of really cool stuff on skis and snowboards and the like of snowy things. It's got some great jokes in it. It is a little more childish in humor, but it's still done very well. It's a very fun movie that really brings a lot more to the table than you expect from kind of a throwaway comedy of the early 2000s. I think this was early 2000s. I don't think this was late 90s. I know I'm not wasting your precious time trying to see if there's a date on the back of this box, and I am not finding one. So I'm wasting your time, I'm wasting my time. We're just all wasting our times right now. But I mean, it's only a 90-minute runtime, so it's not that big of an investment. Again, there's no date on the back of this box. Now I'm just overly curious, and apparently I'm going to waste more of your time as I inspect this very hard-to-read disc. It's one of those, pure silver discs with white printing on it. So, you can almost read it. Alright, I'm done with that. Leave a comment if you know what year Out Cold was released in. But it's a fun movie. I think it's a super underrated comedy. I think it's right up there with a lot of other of this level of comedy of kind of childish adult humor. I don't want to say Animal House, but it's Animal House-esque. I'll give it that. I'll give it Animal House-esque. But it's a great time. It is a great movie. It's definitely worth checking out, even just once, just to see if you even find it funny. So, that was what I talked about this week. We've got A Million Ways to Die in the West, Major League, and Out Cold. Check them out. Like I said, if you're bored on New Year's Eve, throw one of these in. It'll kill an hour and a half. I think A Million Ways to Die in the West kills 2 hours. But it's a well-spent time. So that brings us to January. Now, what am I going to talk about in January? Well, ever since I was a kid, it was something I always really liked. And January marks the anniversary of my favorite part of liking this. And that is the World Wrestling Federation, now Entertainment, and the Royal Rumble. So next month, for the month of January, each week I'll be talking about a different Royal Rumble pay-per-view event. So check it out. I have no idea if I'm going to do match summaries or just do it overall the show. I haven't decided how I'm doing it yet. But obviously, if you don't come to me for wrestling stuff. This is like a once. I'm going to do the wrestling thing, and I'm going to be done for a while. Definitely check out Wrestling with Regret by Brian Sane. If he's another YouTuber, check him out. He does a great job. He's got a lot of followers, more than I have anyways, by a lot, millions. But definitely, I'm going to talk about the Royal Rumble and my favorite Royal Rumbles. So come back next week, check it out, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss the Royal Rumble talk. And I'll see you next week. Have a good new year. 2021, it's right around the corner. We are days away from it. Strength. See you next year.